Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. This is Leveraging Cloud Video Interop to Accelerate Teams Adoption and Maximize Hardware ROI. So my name is Maggie Bliss, and I will be your moderator this morning. Today, I am joined by Maythaz Saad, our BlueJeans Product Marketing Manager, and Ruhid Mohammed, our Lead Engineer for the BlueJeans Gateway product, who will be helping answer our questions later. Before we kick things off, there's a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. So first, we are using BlueJeans Events product, which means that you as attendee are in a one-way viewing experience. But if you want to chat with us, you can look on the right-hand side, and the third icon down is the moderator chat feature. If you have any technical issues, please put them in there, and I'll address those as quickly as possible. The last icon is our Q&A chat feature. So if you have any question regarding today's topic, please post them there, and we'll address them at the end. And lastly, the session is being recorded, and I'll send it to everyone after the event. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Maythaz.
Awesome. Thank you, Maggie. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone who are joining from different time zones. Welcome to our webinar, and thank you for joining today. Today, as Maggie said, we are going to be talking about our cloud video interop solution, which is the BlueJeans Gateway, and how that can help you accelerate your Microsoft Teams adoption while also helping you maximize your hardware ROI. So these are some of the things that we'll be covering today. First, I will sort of walk us through a basic Teams deployment phase. So going by phase, what a Teams deployment can potentially look like. And then we'll talk a little bit about what are the different questions that you, as someone who's doing this Teams project, can ask yourselves in order to make sure that you're covering all your bases and you're getting the most information that you need at every phase. We'll be specifically focusing a little bit on how you can move from having Teams just in chat and messaging and file sharing to actually making sure the adoption is high enough for video meetings. Then we'll talk a little bit about our cloud video interop solution and how you can choose the right CVI solution for you. And then we'll talk about some next steps. So understandably, we are all going through this work from home initiative, and obviously as a Microsoft shop, which I'm sure most of you are, Microsoft Teams has a big part to play in how you're enabling your workforce to currently work and continue to work, and also how you're looking at the return to office plans that you have going forward. So there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of ambiguity, and knowing what are your options, I think, would be really helpful for everyone. So we hope that's what you get out of this webinar. So if you go back a little bit into how Microsoft thinks through a Teams deployment, and you'll find all this information in Microsoft's own documentation around how to deploy Microsoft Teams, you will see that what they mention is that always do it in phases and have each specific goals for each phase. So according to Microsoft, phase 1 is what they call the Teams pilot programs, and this includes chat, messaging, and file sharing. Microsoft Teams happens to be a very big change for any organization, and it's a very big difference in how employees are used to work and how they are supposed to work with Teams. So introducing it in phases is the right approach because you're incrementally getting them used to it, getting them onboarded, and so on. So the simplest way to do that is have users start with chat, start with messaging, one-on-one consultations, one-on-one collaboration, and file sharing with OneDrive and SharePoint. And then in the second phase, the Teams meetings enablement includes having Microsoft Teams video meetings in desktop and mobile, having Microsoft Teams in conference rooms and room systems, and also introducing Teams calling. And then the phase 3, which is Teams at scale, where it's large-scale Teams deployment, you have complete workflow automation, and you also are using Teams to report in terms of how great your adoption has been, and also troubleshooting and so on. So based on what we've seen with our customers, and we've been working with our Microsoft with Microsoft and our customers, combined customers, for a long time around this. We've seen that phase 1 typically goes well because it's like not that much extreme in terms of a change. But when it comes to phase 2, there's certain hurdles that exist because having conference rooms enabled with Microsoft Teams is somewhat problematic in a lot of ways, and it's not that seamless. So when it comes to having more and more video meetings, that is critical to your Microsoft Teams adoption, there seems to be certain hurdles that exist, and we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need in order for you to create the plan for that phase. So we recommend asking yourselves some questions around this specific area. So as you're thinking through what you need to know when you're trying to introduce Teams and conference rooms, ask yourself these questions. So do you have existing hardware in your conference rooms? Most companies do. And because of all the ambiguity that we have right now, you are probably rethinking your strategy in terms of your office space and so on. You would want to not consider like investing in new hardware, probably. You might have limited budget and so on. So how can you make sure you're still going through with your team's adoption plan, but also limiting how much you have to spend? So you probably want to ensure that you're using your existing hardware in your conference room. Would you like to enable Teams meetings in those rooms versus replace? Basically what I just said. You just don't, having that new project added to what's already going on with such a major large-scale Teams deployment is also something that you would want to mitigate. And another question is, would you like to have an open hardware environment? So not just for Teams, would you also like to have other conference solutions be a part of your ecosystem? If the answer to all of this is yes, then you need a cloud video interop solution. And what that is it's a Microsoft qualified third-party solution, and it enables third-party meeting rooms, basically standard-based endpoints, to join Microsoft Teams meetings. Some of the benefits of cloud video interop are that you optimize and you make the most out of your existing standard-based endpoints. So all these hardware systems that you invested in, you can keep using it with Microsoft Teams. You can accelerate your Teams adoption by reducing meeting friction. So even though now a lot of us are working from home, at some point we will be going back to the offices and we will be continuing to meet with our coworkers and so on. And in that case, conference rooms will still play a major part of it in some form or another. So in order to accelerate Teams adoption and reducing meeting friction, you want to make that easy for them to, for employees to do that. So that's where this comes into play. And what this allows you to do is realize the benefits of an at-scale Teams deployment sooner. So rather than it being slowed down, it actually speeds up and your adoption plan goes smoothly and seamlessly. So we want to feature some questions that we think is helpful for anyone who's considering a CVI solution to ask. And these are the things that are the most relevant right now. Whenever you're selecting or thinking through a solution, you have to understand how easy will it be to configure and deploy. Like the last thing you want to do is add more complexity to your Microsoft Teams project or adoption plan. You also want to make sure it's easy for your users, so having one-touch meeting join is critical. You want to make sure that you as an administrator, if that's what your role is, that you have access to automatic updates and also real-time analytics to see how effective your solutions are being in order to help you reach your goals of adoption. And also, you have to make sure that the CVI vendor that you are working with has the right model and the flexible purchasing model that works for you. And you should be able to get that because at the end of the day, you want that flexibility. So diving a little bit into this, when it comes to configuring and deploying, we compare two options of CVI, pure SaaS, which is what the BlueJeans gateway is, which I'll be talking about in a little bit, versus some other options which may be hybrid cloud-based. Pure SaaS, and they both have pros and cons, and we'll be touching briefly on that. So for the pure SaaS model, it's obviously a faster time to deploy. It's software, so it's simple and it's easy to deploy. All the relevant infrastructure and whatever you need to do to get the service up and running, it is a part of the service. You don't have to buy additional things to make sure that it's running. You don't have any additional costs. So there's no hidden cost to it, and it has global failover built in. Now, hybrid cloud formats of CVI may give you more control over where the service operates. It gives you more options because obviously you have more to control over it. it gives you a better line of sight, but that also means there's more for you to manage and more for you to do. So it leads to more IT overhead. Going back to the user experience, as obviously such a big part of making sure that Teams adoption happens seamlessly is making sure users don't feel burdened by it. So if you have the situation where users have to join manually in the room system, that's never going to work. So what you want to do is ensure that you have one-touch join and make sure that it comes with the CVI solution and it's not an additional service that you have to buy. So a native one-touch join is always a better option than third-party solutions. And you also want to make sure that that is covering all the different types of hardware you may have in your system, in your environment, which may be heterogeneous. You may have some conference rooms which are from a certain vendor and the other ones are from a different vendor and so on. But the joining experience should be seamless and similar. So people don't have to think about which room to join. And also, ideally, you would want to make sure that you can include multiple video conferencing services, because based on our research and what we've seen is that most companies are not using just one video conferencing. They're using multiple because they're either having to talk to external parties or vendors and customers. And usually most companies are using at least two. So you want to make sure your conference rooms are also enabling that to happen through multi-service. As an IT administrator, this is important, and BlueJeans has always been at the forefront of making sure that all our services are able to provide real-time analytics and so on. So we make sure we understand that as well in our cloud video interop solution. So because it's SaaS-based, it's automatic software updates, so you always have the latest version of everything. You're always protected, you're always secure, and there's no downtime. So your rooms will not suddenly go offline just because of updates. You don't have to manage any VMs for managing and updating, and also analytics and security are built into the solution. So you can actually get the right metrics, and you can see who's using the room, how many meetings are being had, and what is the benefit that you're getting. So you can obviously match it with the goals of Teams adoption that you have. And then lastly, like I mentioned, flexibility is very important right now. We're all trying to understand how our return to the office situation looks like. Our budgets and so on are being evaluated, and what's important, what's not. So consider solutions that give you the pricing model that works best for you. And you might have very different plans in how you're adopting Teams. Some of you may be doing it very slowly. Some of you may be doing it at one go. If that's the case, you want a solution, a CVI pricing model that works with the plan that you have. So there's options for named host and current ports. You can do it per room based on which conference room you want, and also enterprise-wide if you're willing to go all in and get a significant discount. And obviously, I mention all these questions because it ties it, and we are trying to talk about our CVI solution, and we feel this is how we built the solution. It's because of these questions and the rationale behind it is that BlueJeans is easier across the board. The way that our solution is built based on pure SaaS, it reduces unnecessary complexity and has no hidden costs. We make it super easy. It's easy to deploy. It's all-inclusive, 6 PowerShell commands, and you have it up and running. It's easy to manage and simple to scale. You don't have to plan out or think through the next 6 months of what your CVI project will look like. There is no CVI project. You deploy and you can scale up without additional investment or maintenance outages. So that takes away from you having to think about it and add more on your plate. And then it's easy to use, as we said. Native one-touch join supports the widest array of room systems. It doesn't require additional licenses. And based on our comparison, given the benefits that you're getting, we also think it's the most cost-effective solution that's out there because there's no hidden costs. I wanted to touch a little bit on an example of a customer that's where we have worked with recently. They're a global technology service provider, and what their challenge was that they wanted to enable about 46 poly and life-size rooms with Teams. What that means is that they have a heterogeneous environment, which is a reality for a lot of you out there. You have different components that you need to equip at the same time. It's not just Poly, it's not just Life-Size, it can be a combination of both. And they deployed BlueJeans Gateway. And what the benefit that they realized was that they saved about $1 million worth of room systems. Great. But there were some other intrinsic benefits as well. They reduced project planning by not having to rip and replace all their room hardware. And they also, and like I said, it was super simple to deploy it across a heterogeneous environment. So that I found it helpful. What this meant for them was that they don't have to rush to like replace all their room systems with Microsoft Teams native rooms and have the budget for it or have the resources for it immediately in order to expedite their Teams adoption plan. They can go at their own pace, and at whatever point they're ready to make the jump to Teams native rooms, they can do that. It gives them the flexibility and the toolkit that they need for at least a few more years. So those of you who are familiar with the gateway, I just wanted to share some recent updates that we have on the product. We've introduced localization, which means that now Microsoft Teams, BlueJeans Gateway for Microsoft Teams supports multiple languages, and that includes English now, French, Spanish, and Italian, and Japanese is also coming soon. We enable branding removal in the IVR for no additional fee. If you wanted custom IVR, that's also a part of our solution right now that you can talk about. And we are basically still now the only CVI to be available for purchase online. So you can literally go to our product page, our pricing page, and buy up to 19 rooms and just basically install it right now from wherever you are. Pretty soon we are coming up with Microsoft Teams Live event support in Q3, and more on that later as we start building that out with Microsoft's partnership. So now that you're excited and now you want to try BlueJeans Gateway, how do you do that? We have 3 options here. So depending on what your interest level is, you can either take a test drive, which basically means you don't have to have any installation or anything. All you need to do is sign up and you get a 4-hour Teams meeting invite sent to the room system that you want to try it out. You basically use our tenant. You don't even need your own tenant. And then you have a Teams meeting. It's super simple, and you can just do it literally right now if you wanted to. You can also try the Teams Gateway for free, which means you have an unlimited number of room connections for 30 days. So as soon as you sign up, you can basically deploy the gateway in as many rooms as you want, and you can use our service for 30 days and try it out. And like I mentioned before, if you're ready to commit, just buy now, buy the gateway online. You can buy up to 19 rooms with the click of a button with like using your credit card, which I don't think any vendor is providing right now. So that is all I had. I hope you found that helpful. And please, if you have any questions and answers, feel free to put it on the Q&A section, and Ruhid and I will talk about it right now. Joe asked if it is possible to get a copy, and Maggie said, absolutely, we will include us. Yes, so you can get a copy of this presentation, and we'll also be sending you a recording after the event. Ruhit, we have a question here, which is, if we currently use Real Connect, what's the ease to shift to BlueJeans?
Yeah, Real Connect is basically same CVI solution from Polycom. So in a sense, all they have to do is get a tenant key provision on BlueJeans side, and then just redo the PowerShell commands where they would have to disable Polycom as the CVI and then enable BlueJeans as the CVI. So we have those instructions in our admin guide. Just following those PowerShell commands will enable BlueJeans as the CVI. So it's all about PowerShell commands. They don't really have to do anything else, extra to get the BlueJeans CVI working.
Looking for more questions? We have a few questions here. What are chat rooms? So basically, when you're starting to deploy Teams and you go into the Teams interface, you will see different team rooms, spaces, you may call it, where teams can collaborate together. I think that's the question that's the thing that I was referring to earlier. That's the answer to your question. We have another question here. Does BlueJeans Relay support one-touch join on Teams? Yes, so basically BlueJeans Relay is our one-touch to join service that basically does calendar integration. So you can like join a meeting using one touch, and we use the same technology and the same service to enable one touch for Microsoft Teams meetings using the gateway as well. So it's a part of your gateway license that you can leverage. Is BlueJeans owned by Verizon, and do you see any benefit to having Verizon internet services when using BlueJeans? Very good question. So yes, we actually did get acquired as a company by Verizon last month. It's very new. And we are working on creating like bundles that helps with how our products and our services all work together in order to benefit our customers better. More details coming on that. It's still very new, but watch out for our announcements, and also I'll look at our web pages for more updates regarding that. Question around Cisco. Does the solution support Cisco endpoints and one-touch join? Yes, it does support Cisco endpoints and one-touch join. Basically, any hardware system that is a standard-based endpoint. By that we mean H323 or SIP endpoints. The BlueJeans gateway can support it, and also with one-touch join. Would we be able to connect from a room that connects through the CVI to a Teams live event? Yes, we will. We are working with Microsoft in order to get that capability up and running, and we are expecting that to happen in Q3. Rohit, if you wanted to add more to it, I'm not sure if you had more info around that.
Yeah, I mean, we are currently actually in our pre-beta phase right now. We're still testing. So we're working with Microsoft on enabling the CVI for Teams Live event, and like Matthew said, it's going to be available, generally available for public consumption starting Q3. So if you're interested in trialing it out, testing, you'd have to reach out to us via your account manager if you're an existing customer.
So as you know, if you are interested in learning more, you can always visit our pages, like contact us. Just send us a note, and we'll get back to you regarding any of your questions, or if you wanted to try it. Joe asked, my company is using Cisco teleconference equipment using SIP URL for video conferencing with WebEx. Will this solution be possible replacement platform without replacing hardware? Yeah, I think similar to what I had mentioned earlier with a different question, if it is a standard-based endpoint from Cisco, you would be able to use it with the BlueJeans gateway.
Yeah, just to add on to that, even if it's registered with WebEx Cloud, it will still work.
Okay. Great. Denise asked, is there a BlueJeans Q&A team chat where you can ask questions as you go along? Not sure what that is referring to, but if it's questions about BlueJeans, if it's question about BlueJeans Gateway, Microsoft Teams, whatever it is, you can always go to our website and you will see a chatbot where you can ask questions to our amazing support teams for anything regarding anything you want to learn about. Scott asked, how do groups come up with different names? I'm not sure about that. How many endpoints are included in the license? So feel free to add on to it, but I think it depends on your license. So whether you're getting a concurrent port, whether you're getting it per room, whether you're getting an enterprise license, it depends on what license you get. So it depends on that, basically. Greg asks, can multiple calendar interfaces operate in parallel to schedule BlueJeans meetings to rooms, Outlook and Google? Rohit, would you be able to answer that? As far as I know, we can do multiple.
Yeah, you can certainly do that if you already are using BlueJeans meetings and you have one touch enabled with Google Calendar or with Microsoft Outlook. You can certainly leverage the same setup for Teams Gateway as well. So it basically works without having to do much changes on the one-touch side. So if it's already deployed for meetings, then yes, it definitely will work for Gateway as well.
So does that mean that all your meetings, regardless of whether the origination is from Outlook or Google, will always show up on your calendar, on the room calendar?
Yeah, it depends on the kind of integration. So if they've integrated it with Google, then as long as it has the meeting information, our one-touch solution relay service will be able to parse it and then push that join information to the endpoint. So depends on the kind of integration that they're doing. If they're integrated with both the calendars, then yes, it will still work. If it's just integrated with one single calendar, it will still work. And yeah, you could use add-ins, or you could use Teams add-in for that matter, or BlueJeans add-in. They're all supported.
Yeah, but one thing I didn't mention earlier is that you can actually have BlueJeans meetings from your Teams client with the bot that we currently also offer. So if you're in a Teams chat and then you want to quickly turn it into a BlueJeans video meeting, for example, you can just use the bot and type it in and start a BlueJeans meeting immediately. All right, so that was amazing questions. Thank you all for your participation. I think we're like towards the end of our time, Maggie.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining today. I will send you a recording of this and the presentation will be included. If you have any other questions, please follow up to that email and we'll make sure to get those addressed for you. Thank you, Mehtaj. Thank you, Ruhid, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.